Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies, television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the movie Ballerina. Now, this is not going to be the Ballerina that is the John Wick spinoff. I am not awesome enough to get any early access to anything. I am talking about the Netflix South Korean film Ballerina. Now, this one, I wasn't sure when I went into it exactly what to expect. I don't think that I have ever seen any films or television shows come out of South Korea that I have actually personally watched. So I didn't have any basis of comparison, and I certainly didn't have any basis of comparison in this particular genre. In my opinion, this movie is going to be definitely what I hold up when I go and see the John Wick spinoff Ballerina. And if the John Wick spinoff Ballerina does not have this level of badassery, I'm just not even, it's just going to completely exit out of my mind. And the Korean version is going to just fit right in there. I think that you absolutely could fit this movie into the John Wick universe and have no problem with it. So for anyone who is not familiar with this particular movie, Ballerina basically centers around exactly what it says, a ballerina and her female friend, who I am just going to refer to as the assassin. I absolutely think that everyone in this film, of which there are not very many main characters, but of the main characters, I have no question that any of them could kill me with a pinky finger. So I am not going to in my American way, butcher their names at all and disrespect them in that way. But the ballerina character essentially finds herself immersed in a really kind of terrible situation. She, against her will, kind of gets involved with the villain of this movie and doesn't know how to get herself out of it. And the only way that she does is by unaliving herself. And she leaves a note for the assassin, who is a friend of hers. I don't know if in the Korean language version of this film, it is stated whether they are romantically involved with one another. It is not my native language, so I was watching this one with subtitles, and nowhere in there does it say anything about them being romantic with one another. It just always categorizes them as friends. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter one way or another if they were in a relationship or not, but they definitely have a close companionship. We'll say that. So when the assassin kind of learns what happens, she figures out who is responsible for this. She knows that her friend has taken her own life, but she doesn't know exactly why or how that's connected. And she kind of goes step by step into getting into that world, figuring out what really happened. And then she just absolutely unleashes hell on this man. The level of which I was not ready for. I think there were a few times and a few scenes in this that weren't, I wouldn't necessarily call them gory, but I would say that they were really brutal, and they did not shy away from showing those on camera or filming those sequences. There's one particular part of this that I literally was just screaming at my television, damn, because she really, she just really went hard for this dude. And I will say they did it in a way that you're not looking at this 90-pound woman trying to go against some buff dude and just wiping the floor with him. It's not like that at all. It really is a lot more authentic than I think a lot of other film franchises have done with similar scenarios. You can definitely tell she knows how to hold her own, and she definitely knows how to kick ass. But there are a lot of sequences between her and the villain where you could see that she is having to fight a little bit harder to get the upper hand, and a lot of it she does get some help with, which really kind of evens the scales a bit in her favor, which I do very much enjoy. So this one for me was a heck of a lot of fun. I think it is pretty similar. It's not an overly complicated plot. It's very easy to follow in my opinion, and just the level of like the amazing action that is in this was absolutely incredible. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I think that's really what it is. It reminded me a lot of sort of the same kind of feeling to the first John Wick film. You know, how we hadn't really seen anything like that before then, except maybe in like The Matrix in terms of specific styles of action. And this one I feel like feels a lot like something that would come out of the John Wick universe. Like it definitely gives me that action feel, how they portray things. The ending also, like that ending though, bravo to them on that ending. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think of the ending, because they just woof. Like I sort of saw it coming. Like there is an earlier sequence where you're given some foreshadowing for it, but I didn't necessarily think that was how it was going to really end. And man, so satisfying. Just so satisfying. I really enjoyed this one. I think if you like the same type of action films, anything that Liam Neeson does, any of the John Wick films, you will definitely love this one. I loved that they sort of kicked it up a notch from even what I would think that we've seen in John Wick. Like even though that has a lot of action, this one has a lot more brutality, I feel like, in it than John Wick does. But I don't know. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think on that level. Those are my thoughts on Ballerina. I would love to know what you guys thought if you watched this one. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. And I hope to see you in the next episode.